What's up, y'all? It's Miles the Millennial.
And it's your boy Rex Howard Jr.
And this is Let's Talk Like Men, the podcast where we have real conversations about real topics, giving real advice to men like you everywhere. And we're back again with another episode. Rex, how are you doing, brother?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling blessed. Today was interesting because I almost didn't want to record today. I was just in that space like, hey, bro, you mind to just push this back to next
Yeah.
week? But I'm glad. I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad that we have this platform. So,
Absolutely, bro.
how you
I
feeling?
understand it. I understand it. I be having them days too. But it's one of those things where you just got to show up. And what I know is once we're done here, we'll definitely be happy that we did show up. It's almost
100%.
like going to the gym. It'd be those days you don't want to go, but you never regret going once you do it.
That's a fact.
So I'm excited for it, man. Today has been a great morning. I think I've gotten a lot of preparation done for today, making sure I was ready to go for the different things I got going on in my life. And God has been talking to me. I just finished Kingdom Man by Tony Evans.
Yes, sir.
So that was an amazing book. I highly recommend all the fellas out there. Make sure you listen into it. I believe he has a woman's version. I think it's Kingdom Woman. So ladies, if you're watching, give a listen to it. Him and his daughter, I believe, narrate that book. But I'm excited for today's episode more than anything.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're on part 2 of our self-inflicted wounds series, right? So episode number 1 was the self-inflicted wounds, and it was the behaviors that bind us, right? Or the beliefs.
Yeah, the beliefs.
The beliefs
Yeah.
that bind us, right? So the things that you believe about yourself that have held you back in your own life, right? Well, today we're going to take a little bit different approach. We're going to go even deeper into this. And so part 2 is going to be the self-inflicted wounds, right?
Yep.
The behaviors that sabotage us.
Yes, sir.
Not just the things that you think, but what are the things that you do, right? On a daily basis, on a regular basis, or from time that have caused you to sabotage your own life and hold you back, Rex. So I'm super excited for this. What do you
Yes,
think
sir.
about it?
Man, I think it's going to be good. Not only that, because as men, just humans in general, we have behaviors that consistently either produce fruit or that don't produce fruit.
Yes.
And the ones that don't produce fruit, we get stuck in this cycle of repeating them, expecting different results.
Yes.
So I think this is going to be good, and I think it's going to be freeing to people that may need it. And I think it's even going to be freeing for us as we speak about things that we've personally been through.
I love it, man. Well, this is what I'm going to tell everybody out there. If you are already tuned in, you're watching us on live right now, make sure you're sharing it, liking it up. If you want to donate, send some hearts or whatever you want to do, send it. Drop your questions in the chat because when we're done, we'll come answer those questions as well. And without further ado,
Hey,
let's talk like men.
Yes,
So,
sir.
guys, if you're watching the episode, like, share, comment, subscribe. If you are looking to join a community that is going to help you with your growth, get more access to us, please join our Buy a Coffee, right? There will be a link to it in our bios. Also, Rex has a morning meetup for men. If you guys are looking for that daily development for 20 minutes every single morning before you start your day, I need you guys to tap in. Lives are being transformed. And I'm not saying that just because this is my brother. I'm in the group and being transformed myself.
Yes, sir.
So I'm super excited for us to get right into our hot topic, Rex. If you're ready, I'm ready.
Let's get it.
All right, cool. So hot topic. It's about our brother Shannon Sharp. And it's not what y'all think we're about to talk about, right? Because brother been going through some things over the last couple of weeks. But he made a comment on his show the other day to Ocho. And he said, a lot of times what men would do is we would forsake a woman that gives us 80 to 90% of what we want to go chase after a woman that gives us the 10 to 20% that we're missing. And when I saw that, man, first off, Ocho was like, he needed to hear it again. He started crying live on the episode because of how true it was. And Rex, I really wanted to get your thoughts on it. Do you think that that first is true? And if you do think it's true, why is it that we would give up the 80% and the 90% for the 10 and the 20?
Well, first, I think it's absolutely true. I've definitely experienced it. And I think that we'll give it up is because we think that it's more on the other side. We're chasing our flesh. And I think a lot of times it's when you deal with women that add value to your life, but maybe they're not an 8 or 10 on the attractive scale,
Yeah.
right? But then you have another young lady that don't really add too much value to your life, but she's more attractive. She's more of an arm candy. She's the type of person that you would like to see out and be seen out in public with. So you'll take that route, expecting you're thinking that if I pour into her enough, she can become the person that was giving me the 80, 90%. But the thing about the person that was giving you 80, 90%, that's what's already in her.
Yeah.
Right. And she's shown you what she was capable of. So I've definitely been in situations to where I've left the 80 to 90 to go to the one that was only giving me 20. And I was miserable in that, because when you get past the looks, there's no substance.
Yeah.
You can't go too deep. Conversations don't go too deep. And it's just like you can't expect for them to show up for you the same ways that the last person did. So I definitely do think that is true. And I think it's a selfish thing. It's a flesh thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a battle with a purpose thing. I think when I wasn't in my purpose, I shied away from the 80 to 90 because I was still stuck on what looked good and what felt good and what
Yep.
sounded good.
Yep. That's true, bro. Because if you don't know your purpose, then you can't value what other people bring to the table that really is of substance.
100%.
Right? If you know that you are a type of man that needs a woman who is nurturing, who needs a woman who is creative, who needs a woman that knows how to encourage, well, then you know that 80 to 90 that woman gives you is more valuable than the 10%, which is this woman is better in bed, right?
100%, yeah.
Whatever the superficial things that you're taking into account, the 10 to 20% that you're factoring in over this other woman, right? But I also think it's one of those things where people think the grass is greener on the other side, but the reality is the grass is greener where you water it.
100%.
And the problem is we get into relationships with people and we accept things that we know we can't accept, right? So first off, you get into a relationship with somebody who has something that's in that 10 to 20% that's a deal breaker. And you're trying to put up with it because you love the 80 to 90% about them. You have to know what your lines are. Because if that 80 to 90 doesn't cross your boundaries and is good, then you can deal with that. But I think sometimes men get in relationships with women and they got the 80 to 90%, but that 10% is something that truly drives them insane.
Yeah.
Right? It could be the way they talk to them. It can be the drama that they bring into their life. It could be the constant pessimism that person has. And you know that I can't deal with this. But what ends up happening is instead of watering that plant, you will see the woman over here who is super positive, who's always encouraging, who always speaks softly. And you will factor that in for the 10% that she gives because it's the one area where you have a pain point.
Yeah.
And your pain always speaks the loudest to you. That is a human thing, right? Your pain is always going to be a bigger motivator to you than pleasure is, right? Yeah. Pleasure is going to come second. That pain, that need to survive, to feel safe, whether that's emotionally or physically or mentally, will always speak louder to you than the physical attributes or the things that give you pleasure.
That's right.
So you have to be aware of those things because you'll end up valuing a woman that doesn't even have half as much as the woman you're with, simply because she does one or two things that woman doesn't do, and it hurts your feelings. So you factor that in.
Man, facts. And not only that, when you think about it, whatever you pour into the most, it flourishes.
Yes.
Right? Whatever you pour into the most, it flourishes. So just take for yourself, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like the way you look,
yeah,
and you start pouring into it different type of food, you start pouring into a different type of weight regimen, 3 to 6 months, man, you may fall in love with the person you look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And other people, you may get the same thing back. Same thing when it comes to your partner in your relationship. If you don't pour into it, they look stressed out. The energy that you give to them or the lack of energy, they carry that around with them.
Yes.
But think about what happens when you and your girl is in a good spot. The trust is on point. The intimacy is on point. Just the love and respect is on point. The energy that they carry around is like a glow.
Yes.
And their friends and their family say, I don't know what it is, but it's something about you that's different.
Yeah.
And it's that you look good because you feel good.
Yeah.
So whatever you pour into, it constantly flourishes. But when you think that you're missing out, when you think that the grass is green on the other side, when you think that, okay, maybe I can help this person become, that's when you go left.
Exactly. Comparison is a thief of joy.
100%.
Right, and it's one of the many tools of the devil.
Yep.
Will always be used against you. And so it is crucially, vitally important as men to value the woman that's in your life right now, right? And make sure you're pouring everything into her that you can. Make sure that you're showing up as your best self. If it gets to a point to where you're with somebody that isn't willing to change, then go be single.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, the difference is going to be single means I'm going to focus on me.
Yeah.
Going and choosing the 10 to 20% is not choosing you, it's choosing your flesh. It's choosing the things about you that are vulnerable, the things about you that are hurting. And in the end, you're just going to end up with a woman that you're going to again see the deficiencies in, and you're going to go find another woman to try and
Yeah.
solve those areas. And it's a constant cycle. And you see men go through this throughout their entire life. They're never single. They always have a woman on their arm, but it's never anything that produces any fruit.
Yep.
Because they're constantly choosing people that just cater to whatever their pain points are at the time. And then when they get a new one, they have to find a new woman to feed that. Whoever can fulfill whatever thing I'm needing at the time is who I want to be with.
Yep.
And that's not the way you operate as a man that's trying to be with a woman who can grow you. There's going to be times in those relationships where that 10%, you're going to have to water and help her develop in that area
100%.
by you developing in that area, right? One of the best ways you help people develop is through your example.
That's good. That's real good.
I love that, man. So I think we just had an awesome hot topic. If you guys have any comments that you want to drop, make sure you're putting them in the chat. We're going to move into our main topic now.
Let's get it.
So the main topic of today, right? Self-inflicted wounds, right? This is going to be the behaviors that sabotage us. So Rex, I want to hear from you. What are the things in your life or that you've seen in other men's lives that are behaviors that we carry out that end up, shooting us in our own foot?
Right. So first it starts with the belief that something isn't going to work out. So you half-ass it. Right. So think about it like this. I remember being a student and I told myself, my belief was I'm just not a test taker. But the reality of it was I just wasn't a good studier.
Yeah.
I didn't prepare myself. So because I felt like I was going to fail a test or wasn't going to do that good anyways, then that showed up in the way I studied. So I'll read, I'll skim. Okay, I did enough for today. I'll take maybe a little bit of notes. Okay, I've done enough for today. And then the night before the test, try to cram. And it will always be enough to get me a C, B at most, right?
Yeah.
But I'm half-assing it. Same thing for a speech or same thing for when it comes to sports. If you don't feel like things are going to work out for you, you don't put that same energy into it as if it was going to work out 100%. And I remember going to practice one day and I was a freshman on the football team. Now, although that the coaches liked me coming from 8th grade to high school, I was like, man, these guys are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. I'm not going, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was certain things I wasn't willing to pour into because of my thought process of, it ain't going to turn out like I wanted to anyways. And then I'll be surprised when I finally get thrown in the game.
Yeah.
and I mess something up or I miss a play or I miss a tackle or I drop a ball because my preparation wasn't where it was supposed to be. So a self-sabotaging behavior that I had was just that belief that it's not going to work out. So I'm only going to give 50% to it.
Yeah. And I think that part of that, bro, comes from the fact that, well, if I give my all to it and it doesn't work out, now I really feel like a failure, right? Because I actually tried and it didn't come out the way that I wanted to. It didn't turn out the way I wanted to. I know that for me, that is definitely something that I've dealt with and I still deal with in a lot of aspects of my life is I will show up mediocre because at least if I show up mediocre and it doesn't work out, I'll always have hope that, if I show up the next time a little bit better and I'm a little bit more intentional, it would have worked out.
Yeah.
I can leave that in the back of my mind as the reason why I failed. But whenever the answer is you failed just because you failed, that's scary sometimes, right? And for somebody like me who is so used in my life to succeeding, for things coming to me very easy, failure is a difficult thing for me to deal with, right? Rejection is a difficult thing for me to deal with. And so I find myself self-sabotaging by purposefully not putting my best foot forward. That way, the rejection hits softer. The failure hits a little bit softer because I can blame it on something else rather than just saying, well, you just weren't good enough, right? Or it just wasn't your turn, or they just didn't like you. So I think that those things factor in for sure.
And think about how that shows up in relationships, right? If I'm in a relationship and I feel like things may not work out like I wanted to, think about how much energy I'm going to pour into that.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody says to me, Rex, I don't like the way you communicate. Well, it is what it is. I need you to do this different, or I need you to talk to me in this way. I need you to show up for me in this type of way. I'm going to half-ass it, right? If a lady says, I want you to buy me flowers, right? And I buy her the rose that comes with one rose in the pack with the little floral on the outside of it, right? Or like when it comes to celebrating somebody or when it comes to praying for somebody, you can tell when somebody puts half their energy into it. But out of the belief that it's not really going to work out anyway, so why waste your time doing something half-assed when somebody else is willing to give 100%.
Man, that's good, bro. That is so good, and it's uncomfortable, right? It is a very uncomfortable thing because you're like, if something's foreign to you, like you said, if I've never been that intimate type person, and my lady is asking me for these things, I'm just gonna do it just to do it, but my heart isn't in it,
Right.
and that's where this comes from. When you half-ass stuff, your heart isn't in it.
Right.
Your mind might be in it. You're all in your mind, right? All your doubts are in that.
Yeah.
All your fears are in that. All your questions are in that. But your heart isn't in it. And so you don't show up as your best self and you're going about things in a way that is just, I'm just doing this to do it. So you'll leave me alone. And that never produces what you want. Then when your lady's sitting there and you're giving her what she asked for, but she's unhappy with it, now it causes even more confusion because you're like, man, I did it.
Yep.
What's the problem? Well, it didn't seem special. It didn't seem like you did this because you wanted to. It didn't seem like you cared. It didn't seem like you put any thought in this, any intentionality. Man.
So listen, before we go to the next point,
Yeah.
it makes me think about faith without works.
Oh, come on, talk about
Right?
it.
Because I speak with a lot of men on a day-to-day basis, and I ask them, like, what's your prayer life like? They're like, well, I'm praying for a relationship, or I'm praying for my money, I'm praying for this. And I say, okay, cool. What are the actions behind what you pray for?
Yeah.
There's always excuses behind why they're not doing what they're doing.
Yep.
So I was like, so you're praying that you're hoping, you have faith that God makes it happen, but you're not willing to do the work that makes it happen. That's half-assing it.
Exactly.
But what happens when you have the faith and you have the work?
Yep.
What happens when you pray for the relationship, but you're also working on becoming a better husband
Yes.
or a better boyfriend? What happens when you pray for more finances, but you're actively working on adding more value to whatever company that you may start, whatever company you're going to join?
Yes.
What happens when you pray for being a better communicator and you're actively reading books and actively looking through the thesaurus to expand your vocabulary, right? What happens when you're praying for self-control and the opportunity to regulate your emotions and you're actively looking at the emotional wheel and you're going to therapy working on these things? Then that's what you call giving something your all. But when you half-ass it, that's the faith without the work part, and
Yes.
it never produced fruit.
I don't have anything else to add to it, brother, because that's it right there.
Yes, sir.
Faith without works is dead.
It's absolutely dead. So what you got for your first point?
Man, my point number one is thinking you can work your way out of your problems.
Talk about it.
Bro, we all do it as men. Every last one of us. Because we have never been taught the value of rest. We have never been taught the value of stillness, of peace, of relinquishing things. We've never been taught that. We have been taught that you work and you work and you work and you work to solve your problems.
Yeah.
You work to not feel your problems. You work to avoid your problems, right? And so how this shows up is I'm dealing with, some stress in my life. Let's say between me and my wife, right? Well, what do? Instead of addressing those problems, let me go pick up some extra shifts at work. I'm gonna avoid this problem. I don't feel like talking to her. At least at work, I don't have to deal with that issue. That problem doesn't matter these 8 hours or 12 hours that I'm on this shift. How else does that show up? When you're stressed out and you need a break, you don't look at it as a break from work. Your break is, oh, well, let me fire up this blunt.
Yeah.
Let me grab this drink. Let me, let me go watch the game at the bar.
Yeah.
That's your break, right? Rather than saying, maybe you need to take some time off from work, which might be causing some of your stress. We constantly think that, oh, well, let me go to the gym. That'll solve my problems. I can lift my way through those problems, right? Let me tell you something. The gym ain't therapy. It's therapeutic.
100%.
But it isn't therapy, right? Men are constantly told, and we believe that the way that we solve our problems is by working through them. And by work, I mean by actively grinding our way through it. But sometimes the answer is to be still. Sometimes the answer is to be quiet. Sometimes the answer is to express.
Yeah.
Sometimes the answer is to just simply be present and wait and be patient.
That's good.
Right? But that's something that for me, I know that I've struggled with all my life is, well, if I'm not working, I'm no good.
Yeah.
What is that? I'm a lazy man if I'm not, going to the job today. I got a day off and I could go pick up this shift, or I could lay in this bed, relax, and let my mind recover. I look at the second option as being very belittling to any man that's of substance.
Yeah.
Rather than realizing that I need my rest and my peace too. So I think that is just a product of the fact that we think that keeping our problems to ourselves is going to allow us to work through them better. But in the reality, it prevents us from receiving the instruction and connection we need.
So let me ask you this, because I understand exactly what you're saying, and I feel it. Um, how did you overcome the thought process of, if I allow myself to rest and I'm being lazy, I'm not being productive? How did you overcome that?
So you have to prove it to yourself. So first you got to try it, right? So there were some things that I had started doing first. Um, I would do these self dates, right?
Mm,
Where I would go to the movies. That's my place. When I do a self date, I go to the movies and I turn off my phone. And I text the people that I know need me and just let them know, like, hey, don't reach out to me unless it's an emergency. I'm not going to be responding to texts right now. Give me, some hours to myself, but I'm fine. I'm just taking time for myself. And I'll go watch a movie. Then I'll go sit on a bench and I'll people watch and I'll just watch the world flow and let my thoughts flow. I'll maybe read an audiobook or listen to some spiritual music and I'll just be one with myself, closing myself off from the external world to allow myself to just be in my thoughts. And then what I noticed was after I would do that, I would be way better off. I would show up to work rejuvenated. I would show up to my family and my friends with a spirit that could pour into them.
that's
I would
good.
show up as a person that was able to pour into myself. I had vigor and excitement for my life again. And so I had to prove it to myself, right? You're never going to know and believe that it's going to be any good for you until you try it,
Yeah.
right? But when I'll give you this example. Any man that's ever taken time for himself to, I don't work my tail off and went on that vacation. When you come back from that vacation, you hit the ground running, bro. Most of the time when you come back from that vacation, you hit the ground running like, all right, bet. I'm excited. I got energy. Well, eventually that high from the vacation wears off.
Yep.
Right? It may be 2 months later. Now you're like, man, I need a new vacation again. That is a sign that you need to build in regularity for yourself, to be still, to stop working all the time, and give yourself a chance to, one, enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
You aren't meant to just work, 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 produce fruit, and never get to reap from them.
Yeah.
That's not the point of working. You're supposed to be able to enjoy your harvest, right? But two, it also allows you to plant new seeds when you take a break. Think about agriculture in America. There are seasons, right? There's a season when you plant the crop, and you got to nurture and you got to water it. And that takes a lot of time. You're constantly tending to it in that season, right? Then there's a season where that crop is in between in its maturity, but it's self-sufficient.
Yeah.
So you take a break from it. You're not as hands-on with it because you do not want to deter its growth during that phase. Then there comes a time where it's ripe and it's ready. It's time for you to harvest, right? That takes a lot of work. And then you got to break the soil. You got to let the soil rest. You don't do nothing to the soil. You let that soil recover so that way when it comes time to plant the seed again, that soil will be ready and nutrient rich, ready to go.
Yeah.
It's the same way that we have to work in our life. You have to know when it's a season for you to be working and when it's a season for you to be reaping, and then when it's a season for you to be hands off and when it's a season to rest. And you have to embrace all those as a part of your matriculation as a man. Nothing grows without rest. Nothing grows without time of patience and stillness. So why do you think you're any different?
That's good. That's all biblical.
Literally.
That's all. That's all biblical. I love that, man.
Man, what's your point number two?
Okay. Point number two, not allowing yourself to enjoy something because you're constantly waiting on the shoe to drop. Right? You have that mindset, man. If it's not one thing, it's another.
Yeah.
You have that mindset, man. You take 2 steps forward, get knocked back 3 steps.
Yep.
You're always expecting the worst outcome. You're expecting your team to lose. You're expecting a relationship to end. You're expecting to fail. You're expecting sadness to come after happiness. If somebody loses their life, you're expecting something else to happen.
Yeah.
Right? And that prevents us from being able to sit in happiness, being able to sit in joy, being able to sit in the fruits of our labor, because we know that, okay, cool. If I get this check, right, I have a surplus of money, watch my tire go out. Watch the AC unit go out. It's always something new. So I think that right there is that belief, and the more you know how the law of attraction works, the more you will put your mind and focus your mind on the things that are positive, things that pushes the needle forward.
Yeah.
And except for looking for every reason for something to go wrong, you're looking for every reason that things are going to go right. Right. And when you change that mindset, it changes change your mind, change your life.
Change your
right.
life.
If I'm expecting my relationship to fail, although I may show up to my relationship, I'm not going to ever give it my all. All of this stuff goes hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So if I'm not putting enough energy into it, if I'm already expecting it to fail, I'm never going to be able to be happy with it. Perfect example, when you think about relationships. What happens when you go from a toxic environment to yelling, to arguing, to constant conflict, to trust issues, to a healthy relationship?
Yeah.
And y'all, it's been 2-3 months and you're having an argument. It's been 2-3 months and no toxicity has came up.
Yep.
You like, something ain't right.
Something wrong.
Right. Let me go check that phone.
Uh-huh.
Right. Let me question her about something, or let me go do something just to stir up the pot. That is a perfect example of it.
Absolutely. The definition of self-sabotage. it literally is, because it's kind of like Murphy's Law, bro. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
100%.
Right? And so when you have that belief in your life that anything that can go wrong will go wrong in my life, I'm going to live my life cautiously.
Yep.
I'm going to live my life with a lot of fear rather than courageously.
Yep.
I'm going to live my life playing it safe. I'm going to live my life within boundaries. And man isn't designed to do that. You were created to live without boundaries, right? You're created in the Lord's image. And you said it before. If God has been able to create and do all these things, and then he also says that you will do even more on this earth than what I did when my son was on this earth, right? Then that means the possibilities are endless for you.
Yeah.
But yet we live our life expecting that the worst is going to happen.
Yep.
Well, bad things happen to Jesus, right? But Jesus dealt with those things in a certain type of way, and he didn't allow them to define him, right?
Exactly.
He didn't allow them to limit his power and his influence. He used them as opportunities.
Yep.
And so it is key that when you're somebody that looks at life as saying, bro, I feel like life be out to get me and something's always happening, know that everything is an opportunity, not just an obstacle.
That's good.
Right? Know that everything is a chance, not just a challenge. You have to realize that these are situations that you've been placed in that are going to shape you for what's to come in the future. And if you constantly go about life just waiting for the next negative thing to happen, you will never be able to, one, and like you said, enjoy your positive aspects, and two, you will create more negativity in your life by simply your self-doubt and your lack of doing.
Absolutely. That's really good. And the last thing I'm going to add to this, if you find yourself constantly thinking that, okay, something bad is going to happen, this isn't going to turn out good, this relationship isn't going to turn out good, I want you to ask yourself, what if it turns out better than I could have imagined? What if I do get the results? What if I do get the check that I want to get? What if I do get the blessing that I want to get? What happens when I believe that God is so good that he's going to always make sure that I have what I need? I'm never going to be in lack. I'm never going to be behind. I'm always going to be ahead. I'm always going to be above and never beneath. What happens if you fully believe those things?
Yes.
Your life changes. And I just remember, like, when I was in my master's program and I just made my transition to Houston and I was working Uber every single day, right? And like literally I had to work because if I didn't, I wouldn't meet my financial deadlines at the end of the month. And I remember there's one month where a big thing came up. I had to get a set of new tires and my brakes and rotors done. And that took away, I was $400 short of rent, right? And I was like, God, I'm not sure how this is going to happen, but I know that you're going to make it happen. I'm going to put this work in, but I know that you're going to make it happen. Literally a day before rent was due, I had to call one of my spiritual mentors, and she was like, Rex, is there anything that I can pray for you? I was like, absolutely. I said, right now, you can pray for my finances. There's a few things that I need to do, a few things I need to take care of, but that's an area you can pray for. And she said, is there anything I can give you? She was like, matter of fact, will 500 work? I didn't tell her what I needed. I didn't give her a number. She said, will 500 work? And she said, look, just know this isn't something that you have to pay back. This is something that God told me to give you.
Yes.
So just imagine if I would have thought, man, I'm about to get evicted.
Yeah.
What if I'd have thought, man, I'm not going to make it? Then that same blessing, I wouldn't have been able to receive that blessing. And what if that blessing wouldn't even came?
Man, I'm going to hit on that point about them blessings in my next point, but I'm not going to go there just yet.
Go ahead, brother.
But I'm going to tell a story. Bro. About that same concept of what if things work out better than I think they will.
Yeah.
So, like I've told people many times on this platform, you know, me and my lady's story is different than the traditional you court, you date, all that. We started out as friends with benefits and it turned into something more, right? Well, in that process, there's a pivotal moment where you have to decide when you realize you both got feelings,
Yeah.
what are we going to do? Right? And the decision was in my hands. She said, look, this is how I feel, but I'm not going to sit here and wait around and chase you or anything like that. You either want to do this or you don't. So tell me what it is that you want to
Yeah.
do. And I had to sit there and I had to ponder on it for a second. And I had some talk with myself and I said, okay, what are the pros and the cons of this? Right? The pros are, or the cons are, you can't mess around with no more of these girls no more. You
Yeah.
can't be a hoe no more. You can't run this field. So all that fun that you were having, that stops, right? The other con is you can get your heart broken. Those are the two main cons. You can get your heart broken. And I said, okay, well, hoes is always going to be there. All that will be there at a different time and place if this doesn't work out. So I'm not really losing in that. Then I said, well, you can get your heart broken. How negative is that? And I thought about it and said, well, you've been heartbroken before, Miles. And you became a way better person afterwards. You recovered from it and you shined. So heartbreak is not the end of the world either. And I said, okay, well, what's the pros? The pros are this could be the love of your life. This could be the woman that God has destined you to be with. This could be the mother of your children
Yeah.
and the person that sits by your side to the day you die.
Yeah.
Is that worth it?
Yeah.
And when I weighed those two, I'm like, this isn't even a question. I'm going in it with all I got.
Let's get it.
And it's turned out better than I could have ever hoped for. Right? 5 years later, to see where we're at and who we've developed into and what's to come, the most beautiful thing in the world. And I thank God for that. I thank God that He gave me the spirit in that moment to believe in Him and to believe that He would direct my path the right way. And that no matter what positive or negative came out of that decision, that I was going to be okay. You have to have the mindset of, well, what if things work better than I dreamed of? Because without it, what hope do you have to even pursue things in life?
You don't. You won't.
You won't. You won't, man. So, that is just a very important mindset to have. And actually, that blessing one is my third point. So I'm not going to go to it just yet. But
Okay.
I'm
Go to your
going to move
second.
to my second one. So carrying a mindset of it ain't that deep.
It's always that deep.
It's always that deep. Let me tell y'all something, man. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. You can't think that things are shallow and not necessary in one area of your life and then want them to be super serious and intentional in another area. You can't show up and think that leaving the toilet seat up all the time with your lady is insignificant, but then think that when she doesn't consider your feelings in a conversation, that it needs to be very intentional and serious, right? The same way that you want her to honor you in your feelings, you got to honor her in her feelings. The same way that the things that happen to you that hurt you in your life matter. When you say it ain't that deep and you wash it to the side because you don't feel like anybody's going to be there for you anyway, well, guess what? Nobody will be there for you. And you will be by yourself, stuck with your thoughts and your feelings and wondering why you can't grow.
Yeah.
Wondering why you're still held to this standard of yourself and you can't grow past what happened when you were 18.
Yeah.
You can't grow past the trauma that happened when you were 24. And now you're 30, 40, 50 years old and you're still holding on to these aspects of you that resemble your past. Well, it's because you treat life like it ain't that deep,
Yeah.
right? You go through life saying it is what it is. And I'm going to give you guys a perfect example. And I feel for this brother. There was a circumstance that popped up on Twitter. This man was preparing for the birth of his child, his daughter. He was super excited about it. He's posting about it months and months on end, preparing for it, getting everything together. Daughter comes, he's happy, he's holding her in his arms. He finds out later that it's not his child. Do you know what his response was when it happened, the first post he put out? He found out it wasn't his child, he puts ball up top. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, that's a reference to hoopers. Whenever you get done with a play, you playing, 3-on-3, 1-on-1, ball up top means, hey, check that ball at the top of the court. Let's start again. Let's run it back. Right? It's a way to just say, nah, come on, let's get back to the game. Right? And now everybody's running with it like, bro, we're replacing it is what it is with ball up top. And I'm seeing all these men, we're glorifying this. Like, man, the way he responded to that, like, bro, no, this is hurt. And that's rejecting of your pain. You're not embracing what it is. You're treating it like it ain't that deep. That brother is hurting. That brother is in turmoil right now. To think that your daughter, the person you prepared for, you have all these thoughts. You done got your life together. You done went to God about this. All the things that it takes for a man to become a father. And then to find out that that child isn't yours, that is traumatizing.
Yep.
There is nothing that isn't that deep about it. There is no it is what it is. I'm hurt. But yet, as men, that's how we go about life, man.
Yeah.
We treat everything like that because we've been conditioned in our life that it ain't safe for us to express how we really feel. It isn't safe for us to take things that deep because everybody else is going to take them shallow. And so we treat life like, it is what it is. But I'm going to tell you like this. The longer that you treat life with the mindset of it is what it is, the longer it's going to take for you to never become who you were meant to be.
Why does that stop you?
Because if I always treat life like, it's whatever, I don't ever get to the root. I can never figure out what I'm truly going through so that I can process it and move forward. Instead, all I'm doing when I keep saying it is what it is I'm lying to myself in the moment, making myself believe that I don't care, which may work for a little while, but all it does is it continues to pile up in your subconscious mind. Weight and trauma, pain, anguish. One day, the levees are going to break.
Yeah.
And it's going to flow out. And typically, it flows out in very detrimental ways when you haven't been processing it properly. You have no way to regulate your emotions. And so it turns out in physical abuse of yourself or others. It turns out in suicidal ideation. It turns itself out in emotional, abuse. It comes out in so many wrong ways because you haven't taken the time to deal with the things that happen when they happen.
Yeah.
It's never it is what it is. Like, yeah, life happens. I get it. And you do have to accept that life happens. But at a certain point, you have to take a mindset of life doesn't just happen to me. It happens for me, which means that I am responsible for the way that not only things happen, but how I deal with and process them so that I can be a better man, not just a man who hides his feelings, because then you're nothing but a man in figure, but a boy in feeling.
That's good. A man in figure, but a boy in feeling. That's good. That's real good. That boy felt that.
Hey,
That boy felt that. Jeez.
we on one today, man.
I'm telling you. So one thing I want to add to that is this. In order to stop saying it is what it is, I'm straight, man, I'm cool. I need you to go to Google and type in emotional wheel image. And I need you to download the emotional wheel. I need you to save it to your phone and save it to your files. I actually need you to go to FedEx and print it out and have it laminated and put it on your door in your bedroom, put it on your door in your kitchen. Put it everywhere, because the next time somebody asks you how are you feeling, I don't want you to say I'm cool, I'm straight, because you may not be cool, you may not be straight.
Yep.
If your finances ain't where you're supposed to be, you may be anxious, right? You may be feeling tense. You may be feeling a lot of different things. If you just lost a relationship, maybe you're feeling heartbroken, maybe you're feeling disappointed, maybe you're feeling rejected, right? If you got demoted at a job, or you lost a job, or just certain things didn't turn out the way you want them to turn out, there are feelings that you have. And the minute you tell somebody, no, I'm actually hurt, their response is going to be different if they're supposed to show up for you a different kind of way. If my lady asks me, if we get into an argument, and at the end of the argument, she say, babe, how are you? I'm like, I'm straight. Knowing that I still got some tension in me,
Yeah.
she going to take it as, oh, he's straight.
Yep.
And she's going to move about the next thing. And if she asks me to join her in the kitchen, or she asks me to hop on a call, or do you want to watch a movie? And I got negative energy.
Yep.
She be like, what's this about?
Yep.
So, but when you actually use your words, no, I'm hurt, I'm feeling rejected, I feel tense, I'm feeling depressed, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling isolated. When you start using words, you then give people the opportunity to show up for you how they can show up for you, versus thinking that everything cool, everything straight, right? The last thing you want is somebody to take what you're saying at face value, because, oh, he cool.
Yeah.
He got it.
Yeah.
He ain't no word. But the same thing you just said, my guy, prepare for the lady, prepare for his baby to come. The baby finally comes. He takes the pictures. He's feeling good. He has that first father-daughter moment, just to find out that he isn't the father.
Yeah.
And now he make a post ball up top. No, it ain't ball up top. Those are the same brothers that go commit suicide. Those are the
Yes.
same brothers that kill
Yes.
the baby mothers. Like they go out and they do harm or they self-medicate, which is gonna be my next point, to try to fill that hole that they're feeling inside. So I need you to start using your words so you give people the opportunity to show it for you in a different kind of way.
I love it, brother. That's it. That's it. I need to hear this third point. You talk about self-medicating, man. What's up?
Man, so self-medicating to cope versus working through your trauma. When I tell you, I got a very interesting background, but I grew up with two uncles that were crackheads.
Yeah.
Right? They were my dogs.
Yeah.
They were my dogs. They helped out around the house. They walked the dogs. They would wash your cars. They if you need them to show up for you at school, or when they had access to the cars, they'll come pick you up. They'll come sit with you. They'll pour into you. They give you a little bit of motivation.
Yeah.
When you ain't got nobody to play with outside on the basketball court, they going up there hooping with you.
Yeah.
Like, everything you need, they always showed up. But they just had a way of dealing with their trauma, and that way of dealing with the trauma was turning to drugs. So the minute they got disrespected, or the minute things didn't work out in their life, or the minute they lost a job, or if somebody passed, the very first thing that they're doing is self-medicating.
Yeah.
Right? They would much rather feel high than to feel the feelings of hurt, feeling the feelings of being disappointed, feeling the feelings of abandonment, feeling the feelings of grief. They would much rather self-medicate, right? And even to take it a step further, just being a promiscuous man in my past, when I was hurt or when I felt these different things that I didn't want to talk about, I would turn to pleasing my flesh.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I will much rather feel pleasure than to feel the grief. I would much rather feel pleasure than to feel the anxiety or depression that came with it, even though that always came after the fact.
Yep.
So when we turn from self-medicating, self-pleasure, self-pleasing to let's work through this, let's sit in it, because I promise you, it may take a month or 2 months. Hell, it may take 3 months to work through something. But once you work through it, you're done with it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you self-medicate, only thing you're doing is suppressing it and suppressing it and suppressing it. So when you're not high or when you're not pleasing your flesh, the only thing that you can do is think about that thing.
Yes.
And that's an ongoing thing that keeps people trapped in self-sabotaging behaviors for years until it takes them out.
Rex, you speaking, man. I've been dealing with this recently, just with, the grieving that's going on in my life. And seeing some of the people around me and trying to, not be too on their head about different things, but letting them know, like, look, man, drinking every day and smoking every day, because that's the only way you feel like you can deal with this and process this right now, is only going to harm you more in the long run. Just letting them know, like, look, I get it. Right now you hurting and you don't think you can function if you don't deal with this that way. But what that does tell me is, up until this point in your life, this has been your coping mechanism.
Yeah.
You don't have any muscles built up to process and deal with your emotions, because it's not that, in and of it, death is extremely difficult, but it's the fact that if you are used to self-medicating to get through your problems, it's no different than me and my struggle with masturbation.
Yep.
Right? That when I get anxious, super anxious, that was my way of going about it. And I think that's why it had ramped up so much over the past couple of years in my life, because I got very anxious about my future.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even aware that I was anxious about my future. But I was just every single day resorting to it, right? When I was in my promiscuous phase. All right, that shorty ain't answer the phone. She done rejected me, this, that, and that. I got another one on the line. Yep. If they ain't none of them picking up, well, I guess it's going to be me and Pamela tonight.
Whatever, buddy.
I'm not here to cap about it.
That's right.
That's the truth. One way or another, I'm going to feel love tonight.
Yep.
One way or another, I'm going to feel companionship tonight. I'm going to feel desired tonight. I'm going to get this high of that pleasure. I'm going to get it one way or another, rather than just dealing with being alone, rather than dealing with making better decisions and learning how to process what I'm feeling.
Yep.
You got to build up the muscle.
Got to.
Right? But you can never build up the muscle if you constantly avoiding the weights.
Yep.
It ain't going to happen. That hurt is like a weight in the gym. And sometimes I don't like leg day.
Yeah.
I be wanting to skip it. But guess what? Having a solid foundation makes everything else better.
100%.
You get stronger in every area of your life when you lift the weights in the hard areas
Yep.
where it's the biggest struggle. And so you got to do the same thing with your problems. You have got to address them. You have got to face them head on. Because yes, it may make the next, like you said, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months really difficult.
Yep.
But guess what? Once you get past that, now you're able to move forward with your life.
Yep.
But when you don't address them and you self-medicate and you avoid the weights, you will be weak until you decide to get strong.
Yep. And you'll grow in age,
Yeah.
but you will still be that same traumatized kid.
Yes.
Right? Still be that same traumatized kid. There's a lot of adults that are, so for instance, something happened to you when you was a kid, whether you experienced something or something, yeah, you experienced it or something. I'm just completely throwing this off. But something happens to you, right?
Absolutely.
You don't go through it. You don't work through it. You don't talk to anybody about it. You don't get help with it, but you self-medicate. Maybe you start drinking. Maybe you start smoking. Maybe you start finding different ways to get high. Maybe you start finding different ways to please your flesh, right? And that becomes your portion for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But regardless of what it is, you won't mature, you won't grow, you won't develop if you don't face it.
Yes.
And anytime people end up in my office, right, I always say, where did it start? When there's a negative belief or there's a negative behavior, I'm like, that's just a symptom. Where did it start? And it always reverts back to childhood.
Yes.
It always reverts back to a negative memory. It always reverts back to a negative moment. So it's like, whatever you don't address, you'll suppress until it's time to come up.
Man, that's it. That's it. You'll be stuck.
Yep.
You'll be stuck at that age, at that moment, at that feeling.
Yep.
And you'll think you're moving past it, but you really aren't, because really you're just finding ways to navigate around it rather than getting through it.
100%.
You know, it's like going through traffic, right? And you know that there's a blockade in front of you. And instead of just taking the time, sitting in there, waiting for that accident to get cleared up, you keep on trying to take every exit route along the way to get past it.
Yep.
But eventually, you are going to meet that traffic again.
Yep.
You can jump around it as much as you want. Eventually, you meet that traffic again. So you can either sit there and fix it and get through it, or you're going to be navigating around it trying to run from that blockade your entire life, and you will never escape it.
Every single time.
Traffic is always there.
That's good. So what you got for your last point?
Man, my final point is blocking our blessings by not being a blessing.
Talk about that.
So I'm going to even revert back before I even go too deep to what you were just saying about when you were on the phone with your spiritual mentor and she blessed you, right? Now, what happens when you talk to God and say, God, I need a blessing. I need you to come through for me. He sends you somebody or something to bless you the way that you were blessed with that money when you needed it. And then you proceed and go about your life. You pay for your rent, but you don't pour into nobody else. Right? It's all about you. You good though. You got the money together, your car together. You got your personal spirituality to the extent that you think you understand it together. But that person helped you because they saw the grind that you were on. You made promises to God that you were going to pour into the world and better people. You were going to help people that's why you were in that master's program in the situation you were in the first place.
Yeah.
But then you just proceed to use it all for your glory and for your success and never for anybody else's, right? We shortchange our blessings when we don't bless others.
That's good.
There is a reason behind why you are blessed, and it ain't just to bless you. God don't just give it to you to make you happy.
No.
He gives it to you so that you can be a living example, so that you can be a messenger, and you will go bless other people so they can see the God in you, and they will then come to him.
Yep.
That is the cycle of this. And for me, it took me forever, even up until the last few days when I'm reading this book, to really realize that I haven't been living the way I need to be living when it comes to being a blessing to other people. But yet I'm always asking God to bless me. I'm always sitting there saying, God, come through. I need you. But I'm never telling God, well, this is what I'm going to do for you when I receive this blessing, God. I'm going to make sure that this blessing passes through me, not just to me. Yeah, I'm going to use it right now to take care of what I need to. But God, when I get through this season, I'm going to use this story, this testimony, to go to everybody and tell them about you.
Yeah.
God, you give me this opportunity. When people come up to me after this speaking engagement and tell me, oh my God, you just changed my life, I will stop them every time and say, no, God changed your life. God gave me the ability to speak that way. That wasn't me. I will sit myself down every single time and raise you up.
Yeah.
But see, that's what happens when you're not blessing God, when you don't pass the blessing he gave you on to others, when you don't pass the talents that he gave you on to others to bring more people to him, God starts shorting you. Says, okay, I see how you work.
Yeah.
You're real selfish.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you too much because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. I have instructed you what to do. I have told you that when I bless you, you were supposed to give it back to me. What do you say? It's better to give than to receive.
Yeah.
Right? Give of your first fruits. Right? God didn't say, give me your scraps. He said, give me your best.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of times that's what we do as men and as people. We walk through life wanting blessings and being blessed, but then we never go bless other people. And then it stops coming our way.
Yep.
That season ends. And we're wondering why. Why are things happening so unfairly to me? Because you don't appreciate what you were given and you haven't given it to others.
That's such a blessing, man. And it looks like that's freeing to some people too in the chat right now. So appreciate y'all for tapping in. If you make sure you follow the page, like, subscribe, and all the above. But you're absolutely right. You can't stop at receiving the blessing. You have to be the blessing.
Yes.
God, and everything that you're saying is biblical.
Yes.
Right? Everything that you're saying, just like the story about the men and the talents. One of the guys took the talents and buried it. He wanted to save it. He wanted to store it. While the other ones did other things with it, right? Same way, I feel blessed on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like favor, not fair, simply because every single opportunity that I get, I'm a blessing.
Absolutely.
Every opportunity that I get, I'm a blessing. So whether I'm going to give you prayer, if you need something, I'm going to give you some bread. If you need some time or my presence or my energy or my voice or my value, I'm going to give it to you. However I can be a blessing, I'm going to be a blessing because there was times when I needed to be blessed.
Yes.
And I was waiting for the blessing to happen. And perfect example, I remember leaving Walmart. Everything goes back to me being in school, man.
Yeah.
Being in school, I'm truly a struggling college student. And I remember I had just paid all of my bills. And the only thing I didn't do was buy groceries. And I'm like, man, God, I only got like $15 left. So let me go to the grocery store and pick up some scraps, right? So I picked up some meat, I picked up some bread, and I picked up a bag of rice. And I remember leaving a store. And as I'm leaving the store, there's a family sitting on the corner. There was a mom and two kids. And they was like, we need help. We need food. And I felt God nudge me and say, give them half. And it hurt.
I know it hurt.
Bro, when I tell you, it hurt me, bro.
Yeah.
Because he won't say it every single time I see somebody that's in need.
Yeah.
But when he said, give them half, I gave them half. And I'm like, God, I'm giving this to them knowing that I barely had this to get.
Yes.
Right? But I know that you wouldn't ask me to do something that you wasn't going to bless you in the back end.
Exactly.
So, but because I blessed them, he had blessed me a few days later. Right? And it always happens that way. God don't bless you for you.
Yep.
He blesses you for them.
Yep.
God didn't put that wisdom into you for you.
Yep.
He puts the wisdom in you for them. God didn't make you go through what you went through for you. He makes you go through what you go through for you to bless and free somebody else.
Absolutely.
And like, for instance, for me, the reason I'm a counselor now, one of the things that pushed me was because I was robbed at gunpoint. I'm like, God, what is this? Like, why do I got to go through this?
Yeah.
Right. But because I went through it and he made sure I wasn't harmed in the situation, although I had PTSD, I thought I had anxiety and had paranoid like symptoms, he knew I was going to be the type to go get some help.
Yeah.
So when I got the help and I started reading the books and I started taking notes and I started journaling and I started reflecting, I was like, if I can do this for me, I know I can do this for other people.
Yes.
So then I start becoming help to other people and helping them heal through PTSD and through trauma. So it goes back to your point. If you're not willing to be a blessing to others, you will block your blessing.
Absolutely. And I'm going to break down what just happened because that's literally my steps that I've outlined. So I'm going to tell you how to be a blessing
God is good
to other people. All right. So the first thing is model the God in you through the way you treat others.
That's good.
Right? So people should see God when they see you. Right? And they might not immediately identify it as God because they have to know God for themselves to know that.
Got to.
But they should be able to identify characteristics about you that resemble a Christ-like figure. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the way you treat each other. Are you kind to people? Do you speak with a kind tongue? Do you pour out blessings onto them and speak highly over others? Do you carry yourself as a servant to other people and show up ready to work and help?
Yeah.
Right? Just some small things. Right? The second thing is, and this goes back to something that happened when you walked out that Walmart. Be obedient to bless people in the way the Lord has blessed you. When he tells you to do something, you do it.
Yeah.
That is the key. Obedience is the key, because he's going to tell you the ways that you need to do. He's going to give you the idea in your head. Hey, I want you to do this. Take those talents and I want you to start this program.
Yeah.
This program is going to help all these people. You may not understand how you're going to do it yet. I know you may not have the money. Just do it. I'll help you along the way.
Yeah.
Right? Be obedient. The third step is have a mindset of it is better to give than to receive. Right? Always look for ways to further the kingdom. What ways can I use my talents? If I don't have money right now, do I have time? Do I have a phone? Do I have people around me that come to me anyway? How can I pour God into them? And then the last thing, which wasn't a step on here, but it's something that I thought of this morning because I did something this morning. You know, I pray every single morning. I don't know what position you take when you pray, but oftentimes I'm waking up, so I'm in my bed and I just pray as I'm laying down. This morning I said, get down on your knees.
Yeah.
Get out of bed and get on your knees. And I want to instruct every single man, start your day on your knees. When you get out of bed, the first thing you need to do is get down on both your knees and bow your head. You need to put yourself lower and in complete submission to the Lord, not just in your words, not just in your thoughts. I need your posture as a man. Lower yourself before God. And then from there, God will raise you up.
Yes, sir.
So that's my steps. If you want to be blessed and you want to bless other people, follow those 4 steps. And I think you'll see a significant change in your life.
Mic drop. Hey, man, I think that's it.
Man, that's our main topic for today, people. Look, first off, like, share, comment, subscribe. If you are looking to join a community where you can have conversations like this, where you can get full access to us, early access to our episodes, discounts on our events, discounts on our products, make sure you join our Buy Me a Coffee. The links will be in all our bios, so you hop in there. We have different membership tiers. We'd love to see you there. Also, if you're looking for daily growth, Rex has a morning meetup, man. Go to all our bios. You will see the morning meetup form. Put in your information. You will get added. He is going to shut that group off very soon.
No,
we are at almost 40 brothers.
Yeah, no, we're 40, almost at 45 brothers.
Oh my God. Well, guys, I'm telling you now, you got about, I ain't gonna say the number. Y'all better get there now because it's about to be shut off and then y'all gonna be on the outside looking in. It's intimate space, but it's a powerful space. Let's move on to our Let's Talk letter.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. So our Let's Talk letter of today, we got a submission. All right. And the question is, how long should you wait to start dating again? I've been separated for almost a year. My ex and his lawyer are dragging out the divorce. I'm scared of dating again, but I'm also scared of being alone. I wanted to wait until I'm officially divorced out of respect for my marriage, but it's taking forever. I'm not ready, but I'm excited and I'm scared. She wants to know, when should she start dating again?
When she gets over her fear of being alone.
Rex, you took the words out of my mouth. Come on and tell them.
So I think, I have individuals in my office like that now, right? You're going through a divorce because what tends to happen is when you don't heal and you don't go to therapy in the process of waiting for your divorce to end, when you start dating again, it feels like you're cheating on your spouse, right? And that kind of shows up in intimacy. It kind of shows up in like texting somebody or just it shows up in like spending too much time with a person. You feel weird about it. And that weird feeling is because you feel like you're cheating on them, right? There's still that attachment that you have with them. So I think that you should start back dating again once you've addressed the wounds that came from the relationship.
Yeah.
Once you've grieved the 3 parts. Once you grieve the friend that you built with that relationship, once you built the partner, and once you grieve the future that would never be.
Yes.
Right? Once you grieve those 3 things, you work through the trauma that comes from that. And then on a personal perspective, you work through your fear of being alone. Like, what does that mean to you? Because the last thing you want to do is attach yourself to the next thing that gives you attention.
Yeah.
Right? So grieve it. Work through that trauma on an individual basis. If there's certain fears, work through those fears. And once you are okay with being by yourself, you're at peace with your past, and you are functioning as a productive adult on a day-to-day basis, then I think you're more in a better position to put yourself out there to date.
Absolutely. I'm not going to add any advice to that. All I'm going to do is reference what I brought up earlier in my story of how I knew I was ready to date with my lady. Which was, simply put, I had to have a conversation with myself and say, what's the pros and cons of this and which ones do I value more?
That's good.
Right? If I value the cons, that means I'm still afraid.
Yep.
That means I am more afraid of the negativity, the bad things that can come out of a relationship than I am in the positive things that can come out of them.
Yeah.
You are not ready yet. Don't force yourself into one. Don't put yourself out there just because you're lonely, because like you said, it leads to detrimental results. When you can say, look, I'm willing to take all the cons that could happen here because the pros to me mean more to me and I care more about the positive and loving aspects that can come to my life, then you're ready.
Yep.
So
That's good.
that's all I got for y'all. That was great. That was to the point.
Yeah.
You cannot receive love if you are afraid to be heartbroken.
Exactly.
You have to walk into it with courage.
Got
So,
to.
all right, guys, that is our episode for today. What an amazing time that we had. This was a powerful discussion about the behaviors that sabotage us. I hope everybody has had some value. Make sure you're dropping comments. We're about to check that live in a second. And Rex, I want you to let everybody know where they can find you.
Absolutely. So as you know, my name is Rex Howard Jr., relationship and sex therapist, also personal development coach. If you want to find me on social media, you can find me at I am Rex Howard Jr. on all my sites. If you want to join my morning mastery meetup and become a part of a community of like-minded individuals, like-minded men that are accountable, that are motivated, that are influenced to do better, that shows up every single day. We have men that are fathers and husbands and boyfriends and fiancés and men that are flourishing in their field. All you got to do is go to the link in my bio, in our bios as well, and click the link that says join the Morning Mastery Meetup. And if you need counseling or coaching in the state of Texas or outside the state of Texas, go to resolvecc.com and book a session with me.
Absolutely. I'm Miles Harris. I go by Miles the Millennial. If you are looking for me on all platforms, it is at Miles.the-Millennial. If you are looking for a speaker, if you are looking for somebody to come into your events, empower your audiences, fix the students in your school's social and emotional learning issues, be able to lead your teams into proper training and functioning, right? Give them leadership and value. Make sure you go to my website and send me a booking form. We will go through a consultation together to figure out your needs and solve your problems. If you're looking for life coaching, you can find me on the app Fellow. You can go into relationships and type in my name, Miles Harris. You will find me there. And other than that, guys, I'm a best-selling author. If you're looking for a book, make sure you go on the website. You can find one. Tap in with us on all platforms. Join the membership group that we have. And we are so blessed to be a blessing.
Absolutely.
Peace, man.
We'll see you next week.